Well, hello, everybody. Good morning to our first congregational Sunday after the summer. My name is Gary Simon, and I am your worship associate this morning. Would you please rise in body or spirit and join us in singing hymn number 1009 in the teal hymnal.
Good morning. My name is Nora Mulligan, and I am the president of the Board of Trustees. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Congregation of the Hudson Valley. Whether you have been with this congregation a decade or more, or this is your first time visiting, we welcome you. Whatever the faith and traditions of your past, we welcome you. Whatever your theological stance, we welcome you. Whoever you are and whomever you love, we welcome you. Whatever your heritage, we welcome you. We respectfully acknowledge the territory on which our church building sits as the ancestral homeland of the Munsee, Lenape, and Wappinger people. I have a couple of announcements. Please join us after the service for a potluck welcoming Reverend Daniel Lawlor to our congregational family. And if you can help clean up after the lunch, we will love you forever. UUCHV will be hosting a craft table for kids at this year's Croton Fall Festival Oktoberfest event on Saturday, October 1st, from noon to 6 p.m. at Vassallo Park and Old Post Road South in the center of town. Please consider volunteering to help at the craft table or to help with setup or takedown. Why not volunteer for an hour or two and then enjoy the event? There will be music, food trucks, and fun for all ages. A sign-up sheet is posted in the fellowship hall. Eliana will be available after the service to answer any of your questions. For the most up-to-date information, please refer to our weekly e-newsletter and check our website frequently. The website is also the place where you can find contact information for our staff, Board of Trustees, and other congregational leaders. And please join us for conversation and a potluck after the service. If you're present in the sanctuary, join us in the fellowship hall. If you're watching the live stream, the link for a Zoom coffee hour can be found in the Saturday reminder in your email and on our website. If you are just recently joining us and would like to receive our weekly e-news, please email us with your name and we will make sure you're added to our e-news list. We can also answer any questions you might have. Email us at uucroton@gmail.com or fill out one of the yellow cards at the back of the pews and drop it in the collection plate. Please silence your cell phones at this time, and once again, we welcome you to the Unitarian Universalist Congregation of the Hudson Valley.
Good morning. Good morning. Nora, what a great welcome. Thank you. Unitarian Universalism is a wisdom-seeking tradition. Out of many paths, we believe that there are possibilities for connection and growth and curiosity and transformation. In that spirit, we gather today to mark the beginning of a new congregation year. And we will mark the sound of this new year with the ringing of our congregation's bell. Jane Podell, our Director of Religious Exploration, will invite all the young people in the congregation, the children in the congregation, to come, and together, as a community with Jane, we will ring that bell 3 times for where we have been, where we are, and where we will go. So come on up. And we will all count to 3. 1, 2, 3. Where we've been, where we've been, where we are, where we will go. Welcome. Welcome. May the bell attract everyone in Croton to come to this congregation. Yes. Thank you. Thank you. And in that spirit of where we've been, where we are, where we will go, I now invite Gary Simon to light our chalice and call us into this space.
The chalice lighting words today are by Lisa Doge, amended by me. For the new congregation year, beginning today, always beginning, we light our chalice, symbol of love, perseverance, and hope. For beginnings that emerge out of endings appear amidst continuity. We light our chalice, symbol of love, perseverance, and hope. For all the times and all the ways we have begun anew together, we light our chalice, symbol of love, perseverance, and hope. Now, would you please join me in saying our unison affirmation? The words are in your order of service. Inspired by love, our mission is to seek our true nature, connected deeply and openly, and act for justice.
In our tradition, we're always looking for new ways to connect. Unitarian Universalism has old roots, but we're a 20th century faith. And the ritual that we are about to do today to start our congregation's year was actually first created in 1980 in Michigan by two women, Lucille Longview and Carolyn McDade. Carolyn McDade might sound familiar because she is also the composer of Spirit of Life, which has become one of the essential Unitarian Universalist hymns. And at that first gathering, the first water ritual in our tradition, held at the Women and Religion Continental Convocation of Unitarian Universalists, these words were shared. We are beginning to reach for new and inclusive symbols and rituals that speak to us, to the connectedness of one another, to the totality of life, and to our shared space on this planet. As we gather the water, watch the rivers moving, flowing, changing. Call to mind an image. Each of us, each of our beings is like a well. If you dig down deep enough into the well of our beings, you will hit the groundwater that we all share. The groundwater which flows between and among us connects us to one another, to all life, and to all that is. To all that is. So this morning, you will be invited to come forward and as the music plays, to pour either water you brought or water here into this common vase. And slowly, just as we have come from many spaces and many communities into this one sanctuary to go out and share those stories with others, we will put this water in a common vase and it will be used to care for our gardens and grounds. Thank you for being with us. And Jane Podell, our Director of Religious Exploration, will call us up row by row to participate. Thank you. Now, in a moment, we will invite our children, our youth, our young adults to go to religious exploration with our director, Jane Podell. And I have to say, the best explanation of our faith came from a religious exploration class at the last congregation I was at, and a young adult who was 10 said, "Oh, Unitarian Universalists, we believe in nature and democracy." And I was like, that was remarkably succinct, like, and true and beautiful, and just to all our young adults, know you are 100% part of this congregation, and as we ring that bell this morning and as we participate in these rituals, know you are with us and you are us. And in that, we sing "Go Now in Peace" as religious exploration begins today.
Today's reading is adapted from Singing the Living Tradition, which is the preface to our hymn book. We remember the phrase of our predecessors: religion is a present reality. It is also an inheritance, or to use a more current expression, a living faith must have both roots and wings. Our living tradition began the 20th century primarily as a liberal Christianity among Universalists and Unitarians, and ends that same century also embracing the riches of humanism, feminism, mysticism, natural theism, the Jewish tradition, Islam, Hinduism, Buddhism, earth-centered spiritualities, and many other world faith traditions, and the skepticism generated by this century's disillusioning woes and wars. The coming decades will undoubtedly bring new challenges and changes, and not a little surprise. We remember the phrase of our predecessors: religion is a present reality. It is also an inheritance. Or to use a more current expression, a living faith must have both roots and wings. Let us now bear witness to the joys and sorrows experienced in our community. If you have a brief, personally significant joy or sorrow that you're willing to share, please come up to the microphone, speak loudly so that everyone, including the people watching at home, can hear you. If you would prefer to only have a candle lit without speaking, just raise your hand or stand, and I will light a candle for you.
"46 years ago today, my husband and I met." This is an anniversary we celebrate more than we celebrate our wedding anniversary, actually.
Hi, I'm April. I have a sorrow. A week ago today, a woman that I work with and love passed suddenly. Her name is Laura, and she was 55. And if you could please hold her in your hearts. Joy was that when I went to her wake on Friday evening, there was so much laughter and happiness, and all the pictures of her had her big smile. So it's a big loss. And then also another joy was it's so lovely to sing the children out. I really missed doing that the last years. Thank you.
Hi. My cousin B, who is the only relative I actually had in the United States, grew up with her most of my childhood at celebrations. And she passed very, very suddenly of advanced breast cancer, and it's a shock. So we're still processing that and waiting for a celebration of life to be scheduled.
Hi, I'm Joanne, and I have three joys and sorrows. One joy, I have a new grandniece born August 26th. And a sorrow is my sister's husband passed away, but the joy with that is I went out to visit her in Arizona and had a wonderful time with her at the memorial. And then another joy is my other sister is coming to visit me to celebrate a milestone birthday of mine. So.
It's a joy to me today that we get to put up our Black Lives Matter signs, and the kids are doing the last four. We invite you to all come and put one up.
Hi, I'm Allie. My sorrow is this month is the 32nd anniversary of my dad's passing. This is also his birth month, but my joy is that my 3-year-old son gets to carry on his name.
I've lit 2 candles to acknowledge all the unspoken joys and sorrows held within the sanctuary of our hearts, and all those people who have yet to find a spiritual home where they can share their joys and sorrows.
Now is the time in our service for a moment of pause. Moment to take a breath, to meditate or to pray, and to hold close and tender the candles which have just been lit. Offer the words of the Reverend Dr. Howard Thurman. In the quietness of this place, surrounded by the all-pervading essence of the holy, my heart whispers, keep fresh before us the moments of our high resolve, that in good times or in tempest, we will not forget that to which we have committed our lives. In good times or in tempest, may we be present with one another. On this day in particular, we call to mind all those who sacrificed so much over 20 years ago on September 11th in this city, in this area. We are grateful for the legacies of care that have responded. We are humbled by the examples of connection and service. And we hold close the families all across the world who were affected that day. Today, our sanctuary is one of thousands around the world holding moments of remembrance, silence, and connection. We are not alone, and they are not alone. May we also remember this day all of the families struggling with the floods in Pakistan, a devastation profound, and one that echoes on a deeper scale the struggles that we in Westchester had last year. May we always be awake. May we always be awake to our connections. May it be so. I invite you to join in our hymn, Voice Still and Small, number 391 in our gray hymn book, Singing the Living Tradition. Number 391. Voice Still and Small. There is an ancient story in Jewish wisdom literature from the book of Ecclesiastes. And I offer today it's short, but it really, to me, speaks to this day, this moment of so many transitions. Once there was a small city with very few people in it. But a great king came against and besieged this community, building siege works against it. There was disruption and fear. The judges in town yearned for the return of leaders who had long gone past, and others imagined some kind of accommodation with this king. But there was in that city a poor, wise person, and she, by her wisdom, delivered the city. Yet no one remembered her name. Wisdom is better than might, yet the poor woman's wisdom was ignored. The quiet words of the wise are more to be heeded than the shouting of a ruler among fools. Wisdom is better than weapons of war. Wisdom delivered the city. Wisdom delivered the city. The still small voice delivered the community. That ancient story inviting us to seek wisdom is one I think about a lot, particularly today as we're beginning a new congregation year, as we're holding the legacies and the heartaches of September 21 years ago, and we're also in the third year of a pandemic. But what is amazing is that we are all in this room, and not just us, but all over this continent. There are thousands of people in Unitarian Universalist congregations saying interfaith religion matters. There are tens of thousands of people in progressive congregations saying ways to connect across difference are important. I am so grateful to be here this morning, and for a variety of reasons. One, I have, over the last few weeks, just really found such welcome and kindness from many leaders in this congregation. And I keep having moments where this wisdom seeking appears in unusual spaces. I was recently reading a biography of Lorraine Hainsbury, who's the author of so many beautiful pieces of literature and plays. And she moved to Croton-on-Hudson in the 50s, when the town had a bit of a reputation as a place where folks from the Greenwich Village and different artists and communists would come for a little more fresh air, but also to coordinate and collaborate. And what I found while reading this biography was very shortly after she moved here in the 1950s, she started to work with multiple faith communities to organize fundraisers to support the freedom movement in the South. So the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee, other groups working to dismantle Jim Crow in the US South, money for those efforts was raised all across the Northeast, but specifically in this town by Lorraine Hainsbury. And among the communities she worked with was this congregation. A lot of the initial fundraisers were hosted by one of our Jewish temples in town, but Lee Culpepper, who was one of the original board chairs of this congregation, was an active part of those fundraising works. After World War II, when there was really very little reason to have hope, people all across the world tried to create communities of connection. And in this community, and in fact, this congregation, over 60 years ago, people were working across difference to raise money for freedom, to support one another. A time of tumult is when this congregation was born, trying to meet local demands and respond to possibilities for connection. And after World War II, there was a lot of discussion in UU spaces, as there were Unitarian spaces, as there were across the world. And there were two mission statements kind of bouncing around for support. The older Unitarian statement of faith, the one popular since the American Civil War, said that Unitarians believe, this will sound different, the fatherhood of God, the brotherhood of man, the leadership of Jesus, salvation by character, this last part might sound familiar, and the progress of humankind onward and upward forever. Salvation, character, progress. But after the war, challenged by the heartaches, but also broadened to think more inclusively, to expand faith beyond just one tradition, a new statement of faith developed that said freedom is our method, reason is our guide, character is our test, fellowship, community is our means, and service is our goal. And the first mission statement for this congregation, tried to balance them, and it was adopted from the White Plains congregation with this vision. This is a gathering where people of various backgrounds and beliefs can freely share in a community of worship and service. All are welcome to this fellowship without distinction of race, class, or creed. All activities are directed toward the application of the best that all faiths and all knowledge have to offer toward a richer and fuller life for all people everywhere here on earth. Worship and service without distinction of race, class, or creed. The best that all faiths and all knowledge have to offer. All people. A search for wisdom and action. In many ways, what we do today honors that call. And one of the things that I love about those early stories that I found from the archives, thank you to your archivist, about this congregation is as those work for justice was happening, connections were going on across this community. This building used to be a Methodist congregation and was purchased because of support given to this community from what is now the Unitarian Universalist congregation at Shelter Rock. Community connections across geography allow us to be here today. And about 1 year after this congregation began worshiping in this space, another dreamer, Minoru Yamasaki, the architect of the Twin Towers in Manhattan, wrote an essay which he announced at the declaration of this complex, saying he had a vision that the World Trade Center would become a living representation of belief in humanity, individual dignity, cooperation, and through this cooperation, the ability to find greatness. When this congregation was about 2 years old, or in this space, it had been here for about 2 years, the construction at the Trade Center had started, and one of the first ministers in this new spot was the head of the UU office at the United Nations. So from the beginning, this connection of the local place and the wider community was really important. By 1973, when the World Trade Center was open to the public, there had been so much change in this area. The Bronx Free Fellowship, which was our Unitarian community in the Bronx, had closed. The congregation in Yonkers had moved with much controversy, had sold its building, and became the congregation at Hastings-on-Hudson. And we were one of 3 new congregations that came up in Mount Kisco and Mohegan Lake. As that water ritual reminds us, all our different paths intersect. And as water from one vase was poured in and now will go into the plants outside, and who knows where that water will go, congregations change over time. Congregations seek wisdom and spread stories that we don't know where they'll end. Recently, I was at the 9/11 Memorial Museum in Manhattan, and the guide said, and was emphatic about this, there was so much evil that day, but don't ever forget there were so many ways people chose to help one another. There were so many ways people chose to help one another. We don't know where a story will go. Yamasaki, the architect of the towers, originally had been born in Washington State. As a young man, he moved to Manhattan to escape anti-Japanese bigotry on the West Coast. During World War II, that bigotry culminated in the forced imprisonment of over 100,000 American citizens, children, and elders of Japanese descent. During World War II, while in New York, Yamasaki used his connections to move his parents to Manhattan to avoid the internment. And while working as an architect at the firm that had designed the Empire State Building, he advocated for the civil rights of Japanese Americans. After the war, he had faith that architecture could be a tool for social betterment, just as our founders had faith that interfaith religion could help change the world. He was completely convinced of the modernist hope that architecture could be a living representation of, quote, belief in humanity, individual dignity, and cooperation, end quote. Yamasaki worked on commissions for airports, public housing, and eventually the business center in Lower Manhattan. He died in 1989. In a heavy essay by Sophia Stewart, Ada Louise Huxtable, who was an architecture critic in the middle of the 20th century, when she was older, she reflected on both her generation and Yamasaki's, saying, "We truly believed that the horizons of technology, the horizons of art were by themselves going to lead us to a better place and make us better people. We found this wasn't true." The Reverend Rosemary Bray McNatt was minister of the Fourth Universalist Congregation in Manhattan on September 11th. And I found a powerful essay where she wrote, as thousands of people were moving north in Manhattan that day, she, quote, "and the congregation's administrator and custodian carried a table and chairs onto the sidewalk across from Central Park and just provided a space, a big space, opened the doors of the sanctuary to let people rest and get water and cups and ice and just light candles and be and pray and talk," end quote. In the aftermath of the disaster, as so many people here did in different ways, she served as a chaplain, counseling recovery workers, and she wrote, "It was a place of incredible contradictions. I saw unbelievable acts of kindness and camaraderie, and people were so brave." Years later, in this reflection, she said, "Whenever we forget who we are, whose we are, and what our relationship is to one another, there lies the breeding ground for evil. It is the loss of our memory of connection that leads to individual actions and collective structures that reflect and even reinforce that disconnect, the best and the worst." The last story from that day that just reverberates with me is from the Unitarian congregation in Detroit, which I looked up, and it's about the size of this congregation. And the day after the attack, someone had thrown a rock through the window of the Islamic Center, which actually happened to be their neighbor in Detroit. And then the whole congregation the next day, 50 people, surrounded the Islamic mosque, held a prayer vigil, and the children from the Unitarian Church and the Islamic Center inside worked together to make drawings, and then they covered up the broken stained glass with all the drawings of these children. As caregivers in multiple contexts, in multiple forms, whether from a concert in the 1960s, fundraising against Jim Crow, or working to use children's art to cover up hate, to heal hate, our faith invites us to show up, and to care. And that might sound naive, and that might sound like an echo of what Yamasaki believed. But as Reverend Bray McNatt said, there was so much good, even in those awful times. As believers in an interfaith religious tradition, we say connection across difference is so important, is sacred, and invites us to change and love people across difference. Lorraine Hainsbury, the playwright, wrote, "I care. I care about it all. It takes too much energy not to care." The why we are here is an intrigue for adolescents. But the how we are here with one another is what must command the living. How we live together matters. 21 years ago, Unitarian Universalist communities and so many people of faith responded to the aftermath of violence in a myriad ways. As first responders, organizing solidarity rallies with mosque and Sikh communities targeted by bigots, holding families close. As nurses, doctors, and CNAs, as teachers and principals supporting students in the creation of art and writing poems. As present members of religious communities participating in blood drives, chalice lightings, diplomacy, and peace advocacy. Today, as we hold those memories, we face a world aching with the aftermath of the COVID pandemic, with the ongoing anti-Asian bigotry of our times, with the call to work to make a world where Black lives do matter. We have so many challenges in our time. But we have a tradition of connection across difference, creating possibility. Wisdom is worship and service, inspiration and action. And wisdom delivered the city. May it be so.
Each week, we make an offering from the bounty we're blessed to enjoy. We do this in a spirit of love and generosity, aware that we have benefited from those who have gone before, those who in turn gave generously. Our offering goes to support the work of love and justice undertaken by this community. Today's offering will be shared with Riverkeeper. You can read about it in our order of service. You can make your donation in several ways. If present in the sanctuary, you may give cash or a check in the plate as it comes by. You can also scan the QR code in your order of service. From home, you can make your donation via credit card or PayPal using the links provided in the e-newsletter. Don't forget to give a little extra to compensate for the 3% surcharge. Or if you prefer, you can always mail us a check. The offering will now be given and gratefully received. Please join me now in the dedication of the offering. The words are in your order of service. May these gifts and the work of our hands and hearts give power to all we stand for as a community of faith. Now please join me in extinguishing the chalice. The words are found in your order of service. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of our community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. Now please join me in hymn number 1007 in the Teal hymnal.
The Reverend Hyun Hwan Kim was the founder of the Koreatown Unitarian Universalist Fellowship in Los Angeles. And his closing words are ones I hold close. The life of humanity is always preparing the life of tomorrow. May we do so. May it be. Amen.
Thanks, everybody.